Defending the slot fade has become a critical concept within any modern defense, especially at the college level. With so many defenses playing some sort of a match three or even a bracket like coverage, the nickel tends to be isolated on the number two receiver all the time. Not only that, but offenses have started to shift where they put their best player. And a lot of times it's in that slot. They can use him in motion, they can isolate him on a linebacker or a safety a lot of times in modern coverage. So for college football teams, you need to have a nickel that knows how to defend a slot fade in man-to-man coverage. That's what we're going to analyze today. We're going to look at inch technique, how to play through the route, all using Boo Carter from Tennessee's technique against Syracuse. Let's get into the tape. We're going to quickly break down this excellent technique by Boo Carter of the Tennessee Vols. He's in the slot right here. We're going to get a slot fade. This is one of the ways that modern college offenses love to attack a single high coverage or even a bracket coverage when you have a safety starting to creep down. Here we have a cover three look. So we have our safety creeping down. Quarterback sees this. He knows he's now going to be isolated on the slot, and we're going to get the slot fade. The key here is watch his outside foot. He's going to Pier Step to the back foot of the receiver. So he's not going to Pier Step inside and give more space to the receiver outside. He's going to actually Pier Step and get in front of this receiver. So the receiver is going to attack his soft shoulder. This is what you would call an inch technique because he's really just inching back, inching back. He really doesn't move off of his point. He's really anchored in where he's going to be. He's forcing that receiver to run through his soft shoulder, which is going to be that outside shoulder because he's anchored on the inside. He's got inside leverage. He's working to the back foot. And the receiver is going to have to take a really a deviated outside release. He's not going to be able to just run down the field. You can see that the receiver is going to chop swim right here, and that's where he's then going to turn. So he's going to go with the two-hand jam. Not the best. But when you do a two-hand jam, you want to get out of it really quickly, and that's what he does. You can see that he's going to swipe through with this back with his inside arm. So you can see he swipes through. He's now going to take an angle. Notice how his eyes are down. He's leaning into this receiver. He's trying to work to the high hip. Once he gets into the high hip, you can see that he's going to get in control right here. He's going to hook this receiver in the armpit, and he is going to then run the route for the receiver. DBs know when they get in this position, they own the route. They also know that this is the slot fade because of the not only was number two on the ball. Let's go back to the beginning. Number two's on the ball. So I know I'm getting the vertical route here. And also, too, just understanding the offense that you're facing here in Syracuse, he's going to then run the route for the receiver. Notice how he cuts him off because he has ownership of that high hip. Because he has the high hip, he can cut the receiver off. This is essentially what you call like sitting on the receiver. That receiver has to go through him. He has ownership of the route. He has ownership and he can be in that spot. The receiver has to run right through him. You would like him to accelerate through the ball, but this is a really good clinic example of how to defend a slot fade. Let's go back from the top. He's going to Pier Step outside. He's going to attack that inside shoulder, really make that receiver run the hump. Once he sees that, he's going to slap the wrist, get into the armpit, and then run the route for the receiver. Really good slot fade defense here by Boo Carter. So to quickly review, we want to be anchored in our technique. That's where the inch technique comes from. We saw Carter take a Pier Step or a proactive step to the back foot of the receiver and not into his leverage. A lot of times a mistake a DB will make is actually over leveraging themselves and actually giving the whole width of the field to that receiver to work a slot fade. When you play the slot, you want to be connected to that receiver. That receiver needs to go through you in order to get down the field. That's what we saw Carter do. Once he realized what the route was, you saw him get into a great technique, in-phase technique. He slapped the wrist, hooked that armpit, and then ran the route for the receiver on that top hip, and then really set on top of that receiver. So the receiver had to run through him. You know, receivers are told to stack DBs. DBs need to stack receivers in the exact same way when they have ownership of the route and they finish the play. Great technique by Boo Carter from Tennessee.